Hi there guys, CM back again with another video. Since it's been a week since I made a video, I figured since I'm going to be working for another couple of days, I might as well try and get one out for you guys while I have the time. And since I 3-marked it recently, I figured I'd do a quick review of the VK1602 Leopard, the German Tier 5 light tank. Now I had a lot of fun with this tank, and it does give you a couple of different options on how to play it. And I gotta say, I just love this little thing. It's just such a troll little tank. And I'll show you why. And definitely the replay will show that as well. So, I'm gonna start with the armor. You got 50mm all across the front, which for a light tank is not bad at all. It can definitely bounce a lot of the tier 4 guns, which, you know, like for example on the M5 Stuarts, the 50mm guns on the DW2 and Panzer 3J, and if they're stock, well, sucks to be them. And in fact, your lower plate is actually relatively strong, so sucks to be them if they're aiming there. Now, you do have 30mm of side armor as well, so against a lot of guns that you can see, you can actually side scrape. You just have to be careful because of this shoulder, and the fact that your turret is tiny and your gun depression is actually kind of awkward, but you know, you can do it against a lot of things. You've got a couple of extra millimeters of armor here as well, where there are some tracks. Turret is 50mm frontal, 30 all the way around the rest of it. And the gun mantle has some troll spots in it, though most of the time it's not really going to bounce a whole lot, so bear that in mind. The frontal armor does make this pretty decent at ramming some fairly light targets. That combined with the weight of the tank and the speed as well, that really adds to make this thing a bit of a troll ramming machine as far as a light tank is concerned. But obviously you have to be careful with which targets you pick. The gun depression of this thing is a bit awkward. I'm going to show that before anything else. So it says 10 degrees on the stats, but this is only round the sides. So across the front you only have 3 degrees. As you can see there, you don't have much at all, so you don't really have any until you start getting the turret over the side of the tank where you have 10 degrees. So this means when you're working at ridgeline, you kind of have to come at it at a slight angle. I mean, that's not always a bad thing depending on which ridgeline you're going over. But it can definitely make things awkward if you're, you know, maybe chasing another light tank that's on low health across, you know, like fields that have lots of dips on them. And of course you don't have much over the back either. You've only got 2 degrees over the back. And the further towards the sides that you go, the more you have. So do bear that in mind when you're going over rough terrain, that your gun depression is not 100% consistent on this vehicle. But it is definitely workable. It's definitely something that you can work with. Now, there are 2 guns in this tank. I'm going to start with those before moving on to anything else. Since we've got it up first, it's what tanks.gg puts on. It's the 50mm gun. 100mm on AP, 130 on APCR for the penetration, 70 alpha. 25mm of pen on HE for 90 alpha. So you're going to find that you're never really going to want to carry any of that HE, because a lot of the time you're not really going to have the chance to pen things that have 25 or less millimeters of armor. So not really going to be worth it. The handling is pretty decent on this gun, I've got to say. Decent aim time combined with okay-ish soft stats, plus the ability to throw on vert stabs, make this actually pretty decent as a mid-range kind of plinker. Like, if you're plinking targets, you'll often get the chance to either shoot them in the side, or if it's something that's less armored, you can shoot through the front or rear. Definitely gives you some options. Definitely a flexible gun in that regard. Decent shell velocity as well, so it means you don't have to give too much lead. So you will find, though I will say that the other gun is a lot more fun, and I would say is actually a better option on this tank with how with how I play this thing actually. So we'll move on to that just now. In fact, the other gun is the 30mm or centimeter MK103. This is the autocannon that you would also get on the looks down at tier 4, except now at tier 5 you get a slightly bigger clip, you get much better reload, you get much better aiming. Well, your handling's far better, I mean to say. And that means that this little autocannon can be quite devastating if you're using it properly. If you're allowed to keep reloading, this thing is quite vicious. Even against tier 7s, even though the pen is lower than on the 50mm, you've got 95 AP pen and 110 APCR, and your HE is not even worth taking. You've got 15mm of pen and 40 alpha. It's not really worth taking. So this gun I feel is one of those that's great for hit and run tasks, great for taking out other lights. You've got a maximum clip damage of 360, which can clip from full health pretty much every single tier 5 light tank, apart from, of course, other Leopards, unless you set them on fire or ram them, of course, which this thing can definitely do. And the thing about this gun, however, is it has a maximum range of only 400 meters. So it's definitely a close range gun, including how the shots for each burst kind of disperse when you're firing, which you will see in the replay as well. So, what do I say about each? Well, it depends how you want to play it, really. The 50mm is better for slow-paced gameplay if you're kind of taking it more cautious. However, this gun I'd say is great if you're a more aggressive player like me, because you can get in there, get a clip out, and then get yourself back behind friendly lines, get your reload off, find some bushes to go into to cover your advance towards the enemy tank's position, and then get another clip out and rinse and repeat. And you're definitely going to see that in play, albeit with fewer bushes, in this replay. Which we'll go on to after I finish with the stats. So you've got good mobility, of course, like pretty much every light tank these days. 60 kilometers an hour top speed, 22 reverse speed, 550 horsepower, resulting in 25 power to weight. Decent reverse. I mean, there are definitely light tanks that turn quicker, but this is more than enough for you to work with. 380 health gives it some of the highest hit points out of all the tier 5 lights, and 360 meters base view range. Now that is actually quite important because that actually gives you options. It means that you can active scout, you can run vents and optics and have a decent crew for getting up to, I think, just under 460 meters view range with your vents, optics, and crew skills along with food. But it also means that if you want to play that passive scouting role with the binos, then you can absolutely do that and actually be a little more effective than some others. So with all that out the way, let's move on to the replay. So we're here on Glacier. It's a tier 6 match in 357. And we have the south spawn. Now I'm going to go straight into the middle here. And this is kind of something that you want to do on this map with a lot of your mediums and your lights. You want to get those spots off on things that are trying to cross either into the middle themselves or going to the north or the south if they're not careful, because you can catch people still in their base from here as well. So, popping over. You can see the Churchill 3, the Hydro, and the M3 Lee. Now, I have a full camel crew on this tank, so it's not until this guy gets particularly close that he does spot me, but before he can really react, we put a clip into him. For not all the shots hit, though, so only 241. We spot the Type 64 going up the hill as well. Now, that is actually a bit of a problem. We can't let that guy stay up there too long without being punished. So he's coming down. He's greedy, actually. He's going for the Covenanter. And we're reloaded, so we're going to put a whole clip into him for a juicy 321, as well as getting some spotting on him, which is very nice. And now we're just reloading. We're keeping an eye on this Panzer IV Hydro who's trying to come down the middle channel for some reason. I would not recommend doing that in any situation that's early game. In the late game, maybe if you need to take a shortcut, when there's like, what, 5 tanks left or something like that, when people are a lot more dispersed, you can do it then. We just decide, you know what, we're just going to take the hit and go for the clip. Unfortunately, the P-26 comes after us and puts a shot in as well. There are a couple of these P-26s in this match, though he does get punished for it, so that's nice. The Type 64 is still up on the hill there. He's distracted though, he's not going to come after us. He's even gotten shot once again, I think from the base by the VK-36. Who's not... He's not going to be any use to us alive this match, so not really worried about him. Now we're just going for the spots on anything else here. We spot the Stug 4. Now that thing's got 310 base view range, so that thing is not going to spot us here because we've got a full camo crew, and the fact that that's got such bad view range means he'll never see us. Same with the Covenanter there. He's got poor view range, and so because of this, we're just going to take our time, and this is what you do when you're at this kind of more medium range with this gun. Just take your time, click once, re-aim, click twice, re-aim, click third time, and then do the same for the fourth, and he gets finished off by Artie. So we're just looking around for anything else that's going to maybe try and cross. We spot the Matilda. He's trying to go towards the north there, or he was. Looks like he's trying to snipe the Sherman. So we start trying to put shots into him, but unfortunately, at this range, the Matilda armor is not really going to be a good option to pen with AP, so we switch to APCR. Unfortunately, now he's out of effective range of this gun, so that's unfortunate. But we do catch the Stug 4 crossing, so we reload. This is unnecessary because that's only like 50mm, but you know, you gotta take your time. There's not really time for us to reload before we have to take him down, which we get a nice amount of damage for. As you can see, if you take your time with this gun, as long as you're in range for your shots to actually hit within that 400 meters, you can quite easily get your shots in. Now we re-spot the Matilda, and we also spot the Matilda Black Prince. So you'll also notice, by the way, that I have armor values when I'm aiming at something. That is basically just a visualization of the green and red pen markers. Not really any different from that. So since we have APCR loaded, we just decide to go for go full DAKKA, hold down the left mouse button, and try and clip the Black Prince while we can, because we knew that people would also be shooting at him. So we just went for as much damage as we could for the third mark, which at this point I actually had. But of course, it can always go for more. We reload back into AP, we find the T-50. Unfortunately, on his side, he must have panicked and slipped on the rocks onto his side, and no one came to his rescue, which explains why he's been so inactive. So we're just coming back round, reloading. Now, I wanted to get shots into the OI, into his side, because that's a juicy target if you can get up close. So if you can hug the side of an OI or an ONI with this tank, you're gonna get a lot of damage, because it's very difficult for them to get the gun depression on you, just because you're that much smaller than them. Even though you yourself in the Leopard are not a small target. We're looking for the opportunity to move in on them. We don't actually get this, and instead we get spotted and shot by the other P-2640. Well, then we see the Valentine. I think, well, I'm gonna die anyway, so might as well get a clip into this guy. I thought I was in cover here, but, well, unfortunately not. That does get him spotted again, however, and Artie is on hand to finish him off. So we're just flicking through the teams, seeing who's doing what, but unfortunately, this is gonna end in cap. So there it goes. And with that, let's move on to the post-game stats. So that was an ace tanker with third mark of excellence on the Leopard, which I was very happy with. High caliber, patrol duty. We got 1800 damage, 1100 spotting, 4 kills for 1313 base XP. Only player on our team to do over 1000, which is actually quite surprising considering there was something like a Type 64 in the match. We did make a loss, but that's mainly because we were running premium consumables, considering we were on the last, couple of percent on gun marks, which really kind of what you want to do when you're that close. So there's that. It just means that you can avoid lots of different situations that might kind of screw you over that can happen with normal repair kits and med kits, like if you have 2 crew die. That's very, very awkward to deal with if you're using standard repair kits or med kits. So anyway, that is it for my review. Very fun little tier 5 tank, and definitely recommend it. And as you can see, if you can get in there and get close, this little 30mm autocannon is pretty brutal. Even against tier 6s, and even tier 7s, if you can get in there, people actually are scared of this gun. They don't want to take damage from it, because they know that if you're up close in the Leopard and you get the side of them, they're going to have 300 to 300, well, maybe 250 to 300, 360 damage taken off them, and nobody wants that at any of the tiers that can see this tank. And you can, even if you get the chance to, you can clip entire tier 4s from full health. And like I say, pretty much every tier 5 light tank. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you guys might be encouraged to give this thing a try. It's definitely a fun little tank. I really enjoyed this thing. And I will be streaming again on Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central European Time. If anything happens to change that, like if maybe my dinner's late or something like that, or maybe if I've got other things that I need to get done, then I will put something up on Twitter about it. Links are in the description, and I will see you guys next time.